But yeah, like the fact that to even get the story, you like have to do so much like homework outside of your personal experience as a player of the game is like an incredibly bold decision for an artist to make, you know, of any kind. Like, there's some films that I guess fall under that a little bit, but nowhere near to the extent to where like you'll spend almost as much time or more time outside of the game consuming, you know, lore information and stuff if it interests you than you do actually playing the game. It's insane. Okay. But let's try to remember where the hell we are. Oh, yes, we're outside of, was it Murkwater? Mudwater? Murkwater Cave. And our good pal Patches is in there. And we've advanced his quest to, I think, as far as it'll go. Short of hitting another trigger or something. Are you, We came in here and he gave us an item to give to Lady Tanith, who's currently chowing down on the remains of Lord Rykard in a very gross and depraved scene. Uh, and I don't remember if we lost that item as part of our attempt to give it to her. Well, real quick, before we bail, we're gonna go back in here and see our friend Patches. Let's see, like Inception. Was that top spinning? Oh man. Uh, I haven't even seen Inception. Wild, right? Everyone's seen Inception. The raid is yours? Oh, okay. Where are we going today, Anna Shark? Anna Shark redeeming the guide, the raid. I need to put like a sound alert associated with that. Don't watch Into the Void with the kids, I swear to God. uh, oh, don't worry. As much as I allow my kids to indulge in the horror genre, there are limits. For instance, Exorcist, that gets a little intense. Like anything that gets too intense on the sexual side of things, I tend to limit. I don't know when you end a stream, but it's mine. Okay, Anna Shark. Okie dokie. Well then, when you know who the target is, you do let me know. Alright, hold on. Let me just power Gray Skull. There we are. Oh, hold on. Oh, still not close enough. There we go. Where are the rest of these wieners? Oh, we didn't hit the chain, so we didn't call the whole squad. I can't even watch The Exorcist. uh, like, there's horror I don't delve in. Like, I also have them avoid things that are, like, strictly gore-based, you know, like the Saw movies or Rob Zombie's versions of certain classic horror. I tend to keep her away from that.
Well, finally made it, eh? And just in time for the grand reopening of Patch's Emporium, where you won't need a refund because everything is top notch.
And I ain't giving them anyway. Well, I'm glad you reopened your Emporium, Patches, but I'm also disappointed in seeing that you really don't have anything new for me. But that's cool. Tell you what, I'll buy this shield, just, you know, and this twig. Those are your top ticket items. There you go. See you later, Patches.
Cheers for that.
Cheers for you, Patches. Patches, the Paragon arc in Elden Ring. Eastern Samurai, welcome in. You mentioned it because the parts of the convo about parts. Sometimes words are hard for me to decipher because of the convo about plots being hard to decipher. There we go. I did it. Monday morning mix-em-ups, indeed. Uh, Starts with a DMT trip, the main character dying in a drug bust. Heavy! That's like, you ever seen that movie Spun? Whew, man, that's a hard watch, boy. That's a hard watch, is that film. Anyway, so it doesn't seem to be any new developments over at Patches. So has anybody seen the new Tarnished Archaeologist video? In his latest, or their latest, because it's actually a collective. It's just, you know, the guy who does the voiceover and I guess most of the work is so-called the Tarnished Archaeologist, I guess. But I know it's more than one guy. And he went over they went over the nature of these columns and things that seem to underpin, well, the very bedrock of the lands between. Let's have a look-see. Fear and Loathing in Anor Londo. Ooh, Spun is a heavy watch, Rain. Content warning for sure. But yeah, dig these huge columns, right? We've been seeing them the whole game. They're often referred to as the elephant in the room when discussing the lore and history of the lands between. What's that down there? Hey you! Hey, who are you? Huh. Is that an alabaster lord? I think it is. Well, we're gonna have to go check that out. Well, I guess I carry on with the discussion. Oh! I just found a painting. What the hell? Hold on a second. Wait, so can you find paintings without finding the paintings? I guess so. Huh. Warhawk ashes. Alright, he was looking at Stormvale Castle. We just found Warhawk ashes. Okay, there's a bunch of, like, things are happening fast, gang. Who you calling Alabaster? Nobody calls Soundwave uncharismatic. Alright, Warhawk ashes. Spirit of Stormvale Warhawk. The talons of which have been sliced off so that razor-fine swords can be grafted in their place. With its lord vanquished and its wings wounded, the hawk perished as it solemnly gazed at its former home. The storm is a warhawk's cradle. Huh. Okay, so the storm is over here. And currently, you know, has Farum Azula captured within its influence. It's said that the storm was once more closely centered on Stormvale Castle, hence the name, right? So either there was another storm, or this is just simply a different storm-like phenomenon that shares characteristics, or the storm itself was here, and as part of Farum Azula's excision from the lands between, which is now widely regarded to be the case, perhaps it meandered over this way. Super curious, super duper curious. But also I'm super duper curious what painting that was for. I don't believe I located it. Okay, so to get over to that Alabaster Lord, we're going to have to do some trouble, but as we do make our way over there, I want to talk a little bit about all these structures we see that appear to be overlaid by the very bedrock of the lands between. Not these. These are a different construction altogether. Notice the brick and mortar, small sizes, the wooden aspects of it, and the Yeah, so these are all way, way more recent construction. Construction that's associated with the same time period as late Crucible, early Golden, early Age of the Golden Order. Now, the reason I'm not warping to a grace site a little bit closer to that Alabaster Lord is because we can talk about some stuff as we do. There's another example of the column work I'm talking about. And there's much of it that litters this strait here between the Weeping Peninsula and Limgrave. Now, some people are like, why is the Weeping Peninsula called the Weeping Peninsula, right? This whole area is referred to as the Weeping Peninsula, and I'll be damned, it looks a little bit more like an island to me, right? Considering it's surrounded on all sides by water. Now, I guess I always assumed that they either meant this peninsula here, and the whole landmass was named after it, or they were treating this as a peninsula, and the whole landmass was named after it, or the whole thing was a peninsula, and this was once not a strait, but contiguous. So let's do a little field work examining that possibility as presented by Tarnished Archaeologist et al. Not Al, but you know. Man, I just smashed right through his tower shield. Where'd the other guy go? Oh, there you go. I couldn't even see him. Get down here. Thank you. Oh, he was he was putting his sword away. Oh shit. Ow. Alright, so yeah, these enemies are super chumps. Nothing to worry about. But I crossed this bridge specifically to point out its difference in construction. Hey Glitzy, welcome in. Thanks for shouting out the very awesome and talented Glitzy Chan. Oh, and Galax too. Welcome in. How are you doing? Sorry, like everybody popped in the instant I stopped looking at chat last time. And thank you for doing the shout out works, catching the gaps, Mr. Carrots. Rick and Mortars, Rachel. Everyone doing great. Hell yeah, thank you for the good lucks and lurking, Glitzy. And the Weeping Peninsula might be very well going through a breakup, Mr. Carrots. My day is going great. I woke up not too long ago and decided it'd been a little bit since my last expedition into the lands between. Now, I know I titled the stream talking about the capital of Lanedell, and it's my intention to kind of do a pass-through of Lanedell one more time, just to be thorough with it, especially now that our power levels are much greater. Okay. Brief aside, what's the deal with these tombstones sticking out of the sides? I mean, from a video game perspective, they're clearly, you platform with these to get weird places sometimes. But, you know, Souls games don't just have video game elements without some sort of meta-narrative explanation for them. And if that were, in fact, the case here, that would definitely be the most extreme example of such a thing. Better not look too closely at that minor Erd tree before I start rambling about it. Alright, now, so we can tell here that the straits that divide Limgrave from the lands between is a narrow straits. Not dire straits, that's a band. Hold on, how do we... There we go. Torrent's big ol' head was in the way. Can't wait for the Christmas stream later this year. Oh yeah, I think I'll probably just do that gimmick again. That was a lot of fun. Let's see. But yeah, the straits between Limgrave and the Weeping Peninsula are very narrow and seem to be perhaps a fissure of some sort, as opposed to the Weeping Peninsula simply being an island very, very close and adjacent to the neighboring land of Limgrave. The mainland, I guess you could say. I mean, there's an isthmus here that connects Limgrave to Liurnia. You know what I wish we had an answer for, though? A couple of questions. If like lakes and stuff are freshwater, if the sea itself is saltwater, and if the inner sea here is saltwater. The implication, or if even the Liurnian lakes are freshwater, you know, like there would be implications associated with the salinity. Hey, Zero Tolerance. Welcome in. Play the guitar on the MTV. Yes, indeed. We got you something microwave oven. Custom kitchen delivery. One of the first CG media productions, by the way. Well, how you doing, Zero Tolerance? Oh, there's a family of demi-human over here. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry. I have to be your massacres today. Jesus. This is like my kid running around with the cleaver on Assassin's Creed. Yes, on Assassin's Creed yesterday. Okay, they just got the normal junk. Alright, now check it out here. We are standing upon some of these ruins here. These giant megalithic constructions. Let's look at how it is vastly different from let's see how it's vastly different from the previous structure we saw. St. Trina's torch, light the way for us, please. There we go. Now, it's a little weathered, but you can see some relief carving on this. Doesn't look to be symbols, though, more like representations. And holy crap, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Zero Tolerance, cheers to you. My kid wanted to play a driving game yesterday, but GTA 5 and lots of people died. Appreciate the sub. You do a good job with the stream, and I'll enjoy myself when I visit. Well, thank you so much. That's a big deal. That keeps the coffee flowing around these parts. Many grand thefts occurred and many petty larcenies. But yeah, so we can see that these are big singular cut stones stacked upon each other without mortar. It's gonna be a little dark, but you know, they're fitted together. Any gaps that are there are from weathering that has occurred since. Again, we can see the intricate carvings on them, and Tarnished Archaeologist claims that they are carved in situ. I believe this to mean that the stones were placed and then carved, rather than all the stones prefabricated and carved and then positioned. I believe the rationale for that order of operations is that you would likely deface the fine carvings on the stones, moving them to construct with them in that process, and so it would ruin them, and you would have to retouch up the carvings. And so the suggestion then is that, well, no, they placed all of these and then carved them. And we'll get a little bit more into who they are eventually. Indeed, Elden contractors. The Tarnished Archaeologist refers to this period of building as the Builder's Stratum. The oldest construction stratum in the lands between. As evidenced by the fact that the very land of the lands between seems to overlay them in many places. Indicating that on whatever original ground these structures were built have since been buried by some later cataclysm. And as we make our way to Landell, we'll be able to talk more about this cataclysm. Alright, down there's the beach where the, there's a doggy right there. Oh, there we go. I think that was where the Alabaster Lord was. Yeah. Alright, hold on. We'll use Torrent and Descend. This should be fine. Light as a feather. Thanks for the lurk, Faust. Everybody give Faust the follow. And this is definitely an Alabaster Lord. How did you get here, buddy? Tell you what, I'll do you the honor of single combat on foot. Oh, he didn't see that. That was my calling him out display. I have the power. I have the power. Power. Oh, jeez, I nuked that guy. I guess we could have ran into him much sooner, so that he scaled for the level. Ash of War Gravitas. An Alabaster Lord chilling on the beach. Likely Pauper. Visions of Tears. First off enemy, then seek Talisman. Try cave. Alright, cave nearby. But before we indulge in that little bit of tangent, let's look at these columns a little bit more. Because sometimes it's easy to confuse this stonework with some other stonework. Most notably that of the Eternal Cities. In fact, I was of the assumption that the Eternal Empire had something to do with these. But in fact, it goes way earlier still. So here we are surrounded by them, the very bedrock of the lands between encasing them. And in fact, sometimes when you delve into caves and stuff, and we might see this here, it would make a lot of sense, that no matter how deep we delve into the earth, we will still see these columns and things buried and encased in the surrounding rock, indicating their extremely advanced age. But it also appears as if they were constructed with the intent of being the scaffolding or the almost like the rebar, reinforcement to support the overlaying land. Crazy, right? And indeed, we can see here, look, from this side to this side, these structures might have been aligned and connected. And the fact that I'm standing on one that is toppled over, it appears to have toppled over... in which direction? Ouch. Looks like from here it fell over toward the straits. And then, yeah, sure enough, it lines up with that right across the way. And likewise with some of these columns over here. Also, I guess I never went down on this beach. You guys don't mind if I take this lump of flesh. Also, didn't notice you there, big fella. He seems friendly. These your kids? At least you aren't a grizzly bear, right? You would be tearing me apart right now. Also, check out this waterfall. it emerges through an archway. Now, I guess this could be a coincidence. But let's see. Ooh, this waterway emerges from where the Church of Anticipation, or not the Church of Anticipation, uh, the Stranded Graveyard, I guess that's what it's called. Fringe Folk Heroes Great. Yeah, Stranded Graveyard is here. And this is where we emerge after our defeat at the hands of the spider. Way over here at the Church of Anticipation. So, like, a lot of people wonder what this sequence of events is. We awaken here in the Church of Anticipation, and we're like, huh? What's going on? What is this world I find myself in? Well, I guess let's start looking around. Oh, this place looks neat. Ah, spider! Rip. You die. Uh, and then somehow end up in the Stranded Graveyard. Presumably dumped there. But if you were dumped there by the spider was there specifically looking for Tarnished to ambush to act as grafting fodder for Godric. Well, right, because see, well, here's what's supposed to happen. Marika banished the Tarnished, right? And she was like, yeah, it's going to suck. You guys got to go through tons of hardship for probably, like, I don't know, 10,000 years or so. Long enough to develop distinct cultures globally beyond the lands between. And then when you die, one day you will be returned to the lands between, called by grace. Now, you could have died 1,000 years ago, right? And then suddenly you wake up here. And so when the Tarnished first started returning to the lands between, it's thought that they returned in greater numbers, you know, in waves of like, you know, dozens or even hundreds, and began waging their own war against the demigods to reclaim the Elden Ring, right? Just like we're supposed to do. But it seems like early on, after Lord Godric at the end of the Shattering, established himself in Stormvale Castle, and I believe by then he was already doing grafting to himself, and also Godefroy, his his relative, who's another member of the Golden lineage, who we don't talk much about, but he's also grafted just the same way Godric is, and we fight him in an Everjail. So that seems to suggest that the grafting technique dated back to the Shattering War. And that by the time Godric landed here, he's like, well, I need to continue my grafting experiments and whatnot, make myself stronger because I'm clearly the chumpiest chump of the demigods. Created the grafting spiders at some point and dispatched one to the Church of Anticipation right outside Stormvale Castle to wait in ambush for new Tarnished as they appear. And sure enough, that's what happens. But the fact that we get killed, and the fact that we're not taken to Stormvale Castle to act as grafting fodder, is kind of a strange situation. Maybe we weren't worthy enough for grafting. They want stronger Tarnished. But then again, the implication is that all Tarnished arriving at the Chapel of Anticipation would be roughly equivalent in power level, I would expect. Level 1 chumps, or, you know, whatever it is to start with. Perhaps, right? But this seems to be maybe the top reason. But at the same time, we meet in Stormhill Shack when we first embark towards Stormville Castle early on, that Roderica is there, and she was apparently traveling with a few other Tarnished who were all, like, captured and taken to Stormvale Castle to be grafting fodder, the so-called chrysalids, which is a really creepy and gross name for it. But you know, I'm sure they were all level 1 chumps too. So why were they chosen and we're not? But these are questions that muddy the waters a little bit. But in any case, the Stranded Graveyard is where we ended up. I mean, it could be maybe the spider just butterfingered us and accidentally dropped us into the water and we washed ashore. But then that wouldn't make sense for us to get actually into the stranded graveyard. You know, so it's strange that we arise here. Now, it could be Melina brought us there. It's heavily implied that the Tarnished do not survive the grafting process. And suppose we are a survivor of being grafted, does being called by grace and the ability to be reborn at grace sites restore our bodies? And if that's the case, is our original body currently grafted, or, you know, at some point then did get grafted, or is one of the bodies in the pile in Stormvale Castle? That's possible. And perhaps since, because you know what's an interesting feature of this island? And I want you to pay close attention to it. What's missing? Grace. There's no grace sites here. We can't teleport here, not by normal means, which is grace site, you know. We can only return to the Chapel of Anticipation by way of the four belfries. Oh wait, that's not the four belfries. This is the four belfries. One of the four belfries is a teleporter that leads to the Chapel of Anticipation, which also begs its own questions, but we'll leave that alone for now. So, I'm thinking, why isn't there a site of grace at the place where Tarnished are literally supposed to first set foot in the lands between after being brought back? I think Godric destroyed it. I think that whatever, you know, because wherever we find a site of grace, let's go find one real fast. Or, well, shit, there's a cliff down here. It's probably over here. Wherever we find a site of grace, there's like a little pile there. You know, there's a physical artifact aside from the light that we can see. So let's go look at one real fast and decide if it's something that can be destroyed. And if it can be destroyed, why aren't other forces that are against the Tarnished just going around kicking over these dirt piles? Here's the cave that was described. I should probably lantern up. Y'all hear that? Oh. Halig Drake Talisman. Whoa. Well, look at there. There goes a brand new Tarnished now. Welcome to the lands between. Or, he's gone. Wonder how I got in here. Okay. No grace site in here, though. Well, in any case, let's suppose you can destroy grace sites, and if that's the case, then the grace site at the Chapel of Anticipation was destroyed. So then, if you're a brand new Tarnished, even though the grace site is destroyed, you still, for whatever reason, are resurrected at the Chapel of Anticipation. You know what? Let's walk through this. I know the title says Landell, but I ain't gonna let that restrict me. Four belfries. Alright, I can't remember which one takes us there. So we're gonna have to kind of stab at it. Ah! Something died. Also, we got to talk about the four belfries. They come from a later period than the builder stratum I've been discussing, though. Oh shit, we're at Nokron. Yeah, this isn't the right place. Back to the four belfries. Oh, a grace site, though. I guess we can look at that really quick. See? There's stuff here. And I want to say it looks like frickin' tree bark, man. It looks like a pile of tree bark. Doesn't it? It almost looks like it wants to root into the ground, too. But suppose you kick that apart. Would the gray site disappear? Can anybody just kick it apart? Now, it looks like tree bark, and an important thing to remember is we've been talking about the possibility of the Erd tree itself, most of its form here being an illusion, including most of that, including the outer bark layer, that even when we're right in front of it, uh, uh, you know, in Upper Landell, looks funny. And it looks a little like this stuff. But it's hard to tell if this stuff is glowing or not under the light of that, gray site. So those little pieces could be illusory too, I suppose. But here, I think we're about to answer the question as to why the heck we arise in the stranded graveyard after being killed by the spider. Or otherwise, suppose even if you kill the spider, you know, you can't get off of the island. You can't grace anywhere from it. So you basically have to throw your... Here we go. You have to throw yourself from this here cliff behind me. And when you fall, you die. It's counted as a death. And you still resurrect here in the stranded graveyard. Even if you killed the spider. So, if this site was set up as an ambush, and the gray site somehow removed, I mean, I would honestly expect that gray site to be here. Right in front of America. Right? This would suggest that the chapel itself can call the tarnished, but does not really do so with grace, maybe? Or doesn't need a grace site necessarily to operate? And then you would emerge from it, walk across the bridge, and be beckoned to the first site of grace, which is here, right at the foot of Queen Merica. This would remind you of your duty as a tarnished. How Merica sent the tarnished away, and now you're back, you have grace, it's time to get to work. Right? But instead of finding grace and Merica here, a grafted spider leaps out in ambush, and it far outclasses most players. It can one-hit you, and it can definitely two-hit you with its weakest attacks. And you're very unlikely to, and since, you know, it's the first enemy encounter of the game, you don't know its tells, you don't know how this game likes to do its enemy pacing and stuff, so you're very likely to be killed. However, that being said, it can be done, and so the fact that you run off the cliff and arise in the stranded graveyard anyway is a question that needs answered. Also interesting to note, Stormvale's golden gilding is over here too. America. Playing Elden Ring enough has actually reprogrammed my brain enough to where when I hear Merica, I think of the Queen of the Lands Between and Vessel of the Elden Ring, than more so than, you know, the Imperial Core. But check it out. I want to further establish Godric's control of this site, and how it is part of Godric's ultimate gambit for power here in the Lands Between. While the other demigods fought amongst themselves, Godric set himself up here at Stormvale during the Shattering. He got here before before Millennia did her march to Caelid to confront Radahn, where, well, Caelid became Caelid, right? On her way through here, Godric the Grafted was like, "Hey, I challenge you." And Millennia was like, "No, you're too wimpy for me," basically, and chumped him and left him to live, and just kind of went on her way. on her march to Caelid. It's possible that at this time he was either already doing grafting or had already or it's possible that he wasn't. And after this encounter with Millennia, he knew he was outclassed. And after he saw what happened to Caelid, he knew he was outclassed. So it was probably during this time he remembered when Marika banished the Tarnished and that they would return. And perhaps he had, as a descendant of Marika, some inside knowledge that the Chapel of Anticipation is where they would return. Because here we see this gilding stuff here. This extra filigree that is widely regarded as being added to Stormvale after Godric took over the place, to dress it up, to make it a little bit more like where he's from, Leyndell, and to also like show off his prestige as a member of the Golden Lineage, right? And decided to make Stormvale his seat. And it looks like he's like, well, Stormvale is right adjacent to this chapel here where the Tarnished are going to come out. And during that same build-up of Stormvale, he occupied this area too, as evidenced by the presence of this gilding work, which also seems to be just simple molded concrete put into place with very little fine stonework. Now, we do have these little capstones here that appear to be carved, but they also appear to be hastily carved. Whereas this looks like maybe it was cast. The rest of this stuff looks cast. Like concrete. The Chapel of Anticipation dates to the same stratum, I believe, as Stormvale itself. And yeah, I think this would indicate that very early on, perhaps even during the Shattering, Godric the Golden took over this site in the absence of the Golden Order's defenses and pretty much set it up to where the Tarnished's return to the Lands Between would fail from the get-go. You know, he was like, all right, I can capture more Tarnished to graft myself. As I said by mentioning Godefroy being grafted and in an Everjail way up here in Leyndell, in the Golden Lineage Everjail, indicates that grafting existed before that. And it is also known that the Tarnished, once banished by Marika, you know, they didn't just disappear. The banishing got done through very practical means. I'll explain in Everjail in a minute, Galax. But the banishing got done in a very practical way. Basically, Marika declaring that the Tarnished no longer had grace, since the Golden Order is like, well, hold on, if you don't have grace, that means you're against us. They were literally hounded and chased. They even used the word hounded from the Lands Between. And I'm certain many Tarnished were captured and grafted by Godefroy and Godric while they were fleeing the Lands Between. This flight being represented by the numerous ships you can see off of the coastline in Limgrave, Wigban Peninsula, and Caelid. But to answer your question really quick, Galax, about what an Everjail is, it's a place where you want to imprison somebody forever outside of time. Usually people who would be undying otherwise, which is to suggest victims of Everjails might actually be still grace-given individuals, since it's known that having grace from the Erd Tree, or wherever it actually comes from, is what leads to our ability to revive after being killed. So what do you do with people like that? Well, you can't kill them, so you stick them in a land without time. And you can construct one of these yourselves. If you have a working knowledge of gravity magics, here, let's go find one. Because with enough gravity magic, like we know from physics, Galax, black holes and stuff, uh, uh, time starts to slow down the closer you get to the singularity of a black hole, right? Same concept here. There's gravity magics in this game. They're related to stars and physics and stuff. And apparently, if you concentrate them enough, you can create a setting wherein you can trap somebody effectively outside of time forever, hence Ever Jail. This is an Ever Jail. Right. So, like, I mean, you can think about it, it's probably time isn't fully stopped, but it's like going 0.0 to the thousandth power 1% of its actual intended speed at these coordinates. But yeah, and so we have this structure here. It's constructed and consecrated with a ritual using gravity magics. Now, what the hell are these things? I don't really know what these are. It's possible that these things are attracted to Everjails because of their gravity magics, or these are enchanted homunculi of some kind that are actually used in the construction of an Everjail. However, if you're a monster and go around killing all these things, they can be killed. Even if you kill them all, it's not like the Everjail stops functioning. So these are more likely strange creatures, likely from space, that are just simply attracted to these sites due to their use of of gravity magics. But yeah, and so from a gameplay perspective, you find these sites all over the map, and they consist of basically boss fights. Very powerful characters are often locked up in these, and they need to be dealt with, or well, you can deal with them, and usually there's a pretty good prize. There's some narrative associated with them, and they all tend to be important players in the story. Whether or not they are minor players or major players, they still have narrative associated with them. For instance, this one was the Forlorn Hound, a so-called Bloodhound Knight, a kind of knight who wears a particular kind of armor, adopts a particular kind of fighting posture, and once beholden unto a lord, they will defend that lord forever, even after that lord's death. And usually if their lord dies before they do, it drives them into a sort of madness. And for whatever reason, that one was placed here. The one placed here also apparently had beef with Lady Ronnie and our Wolfie pal Blythe. Indeed. But suffice to say, Everjails all contain a figure such as that. But yeah, I think we've established that, okay, so you die at the Chapel of Anticipation at the beginning. There's no grace site here, likely removed by Godric. And so when you die, either by the spider or by casting yourself unintentionally from this cliff, you arise in the stranded graveyard. Let's go here real fast. Oh yeah, they're little inchworms. They creep around. They got little blinky eyes, and their eyes even look fleshy. The ones that are standing upright with their eyes glowing, it's hard to tell. But if you look closely when their eyes aren't glowing, you can tell that they got like blood vessels in them. Okay, the stranded graveyard. This is where we awaken when you first start the game and get defeated by the spider. You show up here. We were just at this cliff here where we got the item that was on that, which was an incredible talisman that we should take a look at. But this seems to be our most likely ingress, right? If we were cast ashore, either by getting killed by the spider and being thrown off, or falling, and we wash up here somehow. Down here was that alabaster lord, and this is the tunnel that leads to where we are right now. Perhaps we washed up on this beach, alabaster lord finds us, dumps us in there, because that's just a handy place to dump tarnished bodies, maybe. In which case, the entire plot is owed to that alabaster lord we killed just a little while ago, so maybe I rate that as unlikely. But like where I was going with the grace site being destroyed and getting killed at the Chapel of Anticipation leading to us being here, I thought that there was a grace site right here. But the grace site isn't until we get over here. But what is here? A ton of bodies. A ton of coffins, tombstones, perhaps even urns. Also, that urn's really pretty and well carved. Incredible. And well sculpted, I should say. But yeah, it's one of the biggest mysteries as to why we end up here. When we get killed at the Chapel of Anticipation. Because I mean, as much as a grand entryway as the Chapel of Anticipation seems, this also seems to be a grand entryway. And the presentation of this doorway is clearly from here. Right? Like this is kind of unusual construction, right? If you were a living person coming to visit a tomb, this type of presentation would be on the outside of the structure leading in. Whereas this is a structure for the dead people leading out, which is exactly what we do, right? Because check it out. From here, we can see all these statues, we can see the whole presentation of the stairs and all the carving and the hard work that went into this edifice. Going in through here, and if we approached it from this way, for instance, we have the elevator that leads us into the place from up there, which is a you know, a grand design, and it looks very similar to the stuff, those big giant columns out there. In fact, I think even this filigree pattern is common. Let's look at it. Damn it. There we go. We can see it there a little bit. I'll even zoom it in for a moment. Whoop. See that pattern on the column? I think it's similar to the pattern on the larger columns outside. However, I don't think that this means that they were constructed by the same people. I think that their techniques were mimicked by a later people who constructed this place that we're in now. And I believe those people were much smaller than the people who built the shit outside. But I do believe it's mimicry of some degree. But okay, we come in through the elevator, which is a grand entrance, sure. But okay, we're just in a tomb. There's no circumstance leading here. And deeper in past this altar, there's no circumstance leading into here to go in here. What I'm trying to say is that this architecture is meant to be experienced from this direction, going in, anticipating, almost as the Chapel of Anticipation is named, the arrival of dead people who come out of here. So perhaps Godric's interference with the site here yielded a secret second site. And perhaps this site was maintained in secret as the place the tarnished kind of, who are still guided by grace, will reappear after their first run-in with death in the lands between, should they not be able to get off of the Chapel of Anticipation. I really didn't expect to go this way with the discussion today. I was just going to talk about the big megalithic columns real quick, establish that the Weeping Peninsula was probably once contiguous with the rest of the lands between, and it's possible whatever cataclysm caused this strait here caused the separation of the Church of Dragon Communion from the mainland, and perhaps even the Church of Anticipation itself. Because it looks as if, okay, we get this bridge that goes here, that we would probably go straight to this church, the Church of Irith, which is a name I know not of beyond the name of this church. You know what? Let's chase this waterfall to the against the advice of TLC. I mean, we are in the Cave of Knowledge, are we not? Okay, let's go check out the Church of Irith. I think I'm going to take a quick break when we get there, and we'll resume our discussion. Also, this torch looks really cool. I can see the face on it. They say this torch is carved in the likeness of Saint Trina. Saint Trina, widely considered to be an alternate aspect of Miquella, the demigod, twin to Millennia. Alright, here's the Church of... What the? Hold on. Since when did you get here? Also, shit, that's the wrong spell. But I guess it works just fine. Tops' barrier? Cool. This is where Tops was. Oh, that must only appear after Tops leaves. Dung beetles. Gathering up perhaps crystal tears and ashes? Also ashes, because that was an ash of war, and we get ashes of war. We get tear refills for our flasks from those beetle balls, and also ashes of war. Interesting. But anyway, the Church of Irith. Golden flowers, like we see growing naturally in the fields of the Altus Plateau, growing down here in Liurnia, adjacent to Limgrave, which is a rare sight. Perhaps planted intentionally or sprout spontaneously around the Statue of Marika, depending on how preternatural it is. But here we are, on the far side of the cliff. Oh, hold on, no, there. That's where we land from the 4 belfries. And it seems as if there's supposed to be a bridge connecting this entire thing here, but perhaps was destroyed in whatever land-wrenching cataclysm that has affected the lands between, where we can, an event we can see evidence of everywhere. But it's hard to pin down exactly when it occurred. But this here kind of helps. I think it was late shattering. I'm also of the opinion that Farum Azula's departure from the lands between could have been as late as the late shattering as well. That could also be when the Eternal Cities and the Nox were banished. All this stuff could have been fairly recent, timeline speaking. I'm going to go to a certain item description so I don't forget about it, to read about it when we get back from the break. I'll be right back. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'm back. I did it. I farted. I farted and it was fun. Thanks for sticking through the break. Thank you for listening to the music as produced by Captain Sekatai. Deeply appreciate you guys and him. And I want to show you all some cool stuff I got for Father's Day yesterday from my girlfriend, SFVL. First, an assortment of coasters that look like classic NES cartridges. Metroid, Mario 3, Mario 2, Mario 1, Duck Hunt, Donkey Kong, and Excite Bike. Ooh, and Zelda. I wish this one was gold. But yeah, super rad. I'm going to use one of these right now. We'll start with Metroid. Why not? Coffee right on the Metroid coaster. Right, Commander? Also, I seen that we got the 550. Everybody, real quick. The link is going to be up, I believe, until you said tomorrow night after stream or tonight after stream, Commander. Let's give Commander the shout out, of course. Tomorrow night, excellent. So please do consider giving to the Lambda Legal Foundation, or organization, a legal organization benefiting the LGBTQ community. There's the link right there. Pinaroo. And if anybody wants to, they can do the do. Right? Alright. Let's see if we can get that 600. I think we can do it. Let's see. What else did I get that was cool? Really cool stuff. But first, she got me a Curse of Strahd mini. Hold on. Let me see if I can... On to map the properties, this sucker. There we go. A fully painted, he carries his little blood chalice and everything. Count or Baron Strahd von Zarevich from the Curse of Strahd campaign, Ravenloft campaign setting, Dungeons and Dragons. He's one of my favorite villains in D&D, probably my favorite, right up there with Lord Soth. But this is a really nice mini, holy crap. And he's gonna live on my desk. Let's get the autofocus back. There we are. Let's see what else we get. The new Bloodborne graphic novel. I have all 4 now. Holy shit. I can't wait to read this. Probably gonna read it tonight. If you haven't checked out the Bloodborne graphic novels, holy shit, do so. Like, we never got a sequel, right? We're unlikely to even get HD remaster, and I'm okay with that. I'd rather have a sequel, but we got this, and this is good. Yes, you should. Gameplay first, Jupe. Game first. Yeah, game first. But here's the big one, and I can't believe she got this for me. The goddamn Optimus Prime fully transformable Lego. Like, holy crap. I thought I was just going out to, like, a little dinner date last night. And she's all, here you go. Showers me with gifts. I'm like, holy crap. Oh my god. My little nerd heart grew 3 times its original size. Uh, but yeah, super stoked for this stuff. Thought I'd do a little show and tell real fast. She was like, now make sure you post it and tell all your friends. Alright, but anyway, back to the Elden lore. Yeah, I'm stoked. Hopefully we build that guy soon. I'm really interested in buying it. Okay, so we found ourselves one of these talismans at the entrance to the stranded graveyard. And we should probably think in our minds, stranded graveyard, what that might mean also. Uh, but check it out. People have noticed something about these talismans. Now, the description says talisman depicting a golden ancient dragon. Okay, sure. Let's look at it. Thank you for the alert, Commander. Also, I'm a little curious why my camera gets obscured when I do this. Maybe I'll put it in overlay instead. Why am I so huge? Oh, I know why. Hold on. We gotta do some stuff here. Here we go. There it is. I was doing my entire other thing. There we go. Okay, talisman depicting a golden ancient dragon. The ancient dragons who ruled in the prehistoric era before the Erd Tree would protect their lord as a wall of living rock, and so it is. The shape of the dragon has become symbolic of all manner of protections. And indeed, we have them, right? We even have them on this shield talisman here. And these are a little bit more clearly, these are dragons, right? Sure. But then we got these ones that, we're still talking, okay, we have a vaguely dragon shape, and it's a little bit easier to make out either on the red one here, but especially here on the gold one. We have kind of a wing, like a wing on the left side there, and another wing on the right side there. And then in between it, we have the serpentine neck, and then body, and feet, and tail. Sure. Right? We'll zoom in even further to... oh, what's up, John Wick? How you doing, buddy? Let's shout you out. I'm just going into the details of the shape of the dragon on these talismans. I wish I could draw on the screen. I need to figure out how to do that. But yeah, so we could see, yeah, all right, this is a vaguely shaped dragon. We got our left wing, our right wing that goes up a little higher, and then in between the head, neck, and then body, and we got like some feet and kind of a tail thing. But what people have noticed is that this also looks curiously like a landmass, right? Let's zoom in even farther, which is going to be difficult. Okay, so check it out. We have, if we ignore the depiction of the dragon here and think of it as a landmass, it parses as one pretty quick. We have an irregular coastline. And yeah, how you doing, John Wick? If you got a raid and fade, I appreciate the raid. But if you got to go, I can dig it. But other than that, welcome in. But yeah, we have like the irregularities of a coastline. This is like a peninsula and another strangely shaped peninsula, sure. But then we have what looks to be river channels, maybe, leading from a central highland, maybe, down to the shore. Some people have decided that, oh wait, maybe this is representing a landmass. And that landmass only coincidentally looks vaguely dragon-like, and uh, uh, could be the landmass of Farah Missoula, is what some people hypothesize. They've even gone so far as to like kind of put back together crumbling Farum Azula to some degree, rearrange its pieces back to where they originally fit, seeing as how they're all shattered and stuff now. And I'll show that off in a minute, as soon as I get my screen returned to its former and proper scale. There we go. Probably just remember those pixel values it's displaying for me. Oop. But yeah, so there are some people who have decided that with only a little bit of effort, the coastline of the inner sea of the lands between and many features of what's left of Farum Azula can all fit on a landmass shaped like the thing in the talisman that's positioned roughly here. Also explaining the absence of land on the upper sea here. Now, it's important to remember that it's likely that all this stuff, that this stuff could have been here because the inner area here is not contiguous with the rest of the sea. There's this really big, strange waterfall feature here that the inner sea is perpetually emptying out into the outer sea, as it were. Strange, strange, wild mess. And yeah, and we're talking about that cataclysm, perhaps being the cataclysm that has split the land here, separating the Church of Anticipation from Stormvale, caused this strait to appear between the Weeping Peninsula and Limgrave at large, caused Farum Azula to be rent loose from the lands between and cast asunder. Also possible, it has led to the continued sinking and further devolution of Liurnia, which is called Liurnia of the Lakes, which indicated that, you know, perhaps there was a few lakes in this basin that have now all since seemed to have conjoined into a single Liurnian lake, right? You know, numerous other features of devastation and cataclysm in the lands between, I think, can all be pinned down to the same moment, almost. Stars are pretty tonight. Where's the moon? The moon, where are you? Why can we not see you? Is it behind the Erd tree? I don't think so. Huh. I'm scared. The moon's gone. Remember those tweets by David Lynch where he was like, tonight I'm going to see if I'm connected to the moon. And then later on, like a tweet the next day was like, I'm pretty sure I'm connected to the moon. Oh, this guy's a strong one. Holy shit. Hold on. Fuck. Oh, come on. Oh, no, no, no. Don't be waking back up, you. I don't think so. No, no, no. Okay. You'd be having it all down. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely spent enough time to have at least gathered a loose understanding of what the hell is going on in the lands between. Hold on, there's a kitty cat at my door. My elbow. Okay. Sorry, I had to let the cat out. Alright, I wanted to get one last look at this big chunk of land that's knocked over here before I depart. And head to Landell finally, like the title would be suggesting. Oh, that's way down there. This feature on the map is way down low. Barely even see it from here. It appears to have split from this, though. Yeah, so this here is an indication of how tall this feature is. Because this is a vertical aspect of this landmass laid on its side, perpendicular to its original orientation. Here I think we see other slabs of rock broke loose thusly. Big columnar slabs. What's that feature? Think it's here? Let's see if it's here. Yeah, just doing a little field work in the lands between. I think it had been over a week since I'd done it last. Alright, there's the Chapel of Anticipation. There is... what's that a statue of? Huh. I don't want to call that guy. Oh, we can't ride the horse here? Well, I hope I can get up. Dang it. I think I might be on top of the column I was looking at from across the way. Hard to see because of the storm, the storminess obscureth. Yeah, but there, I mean, there's nothing above us. Ah! Oh, shit. Forgot about y'all. Yeah, we must be on top of that column I could see from across the way. There's really no way to get under and look at it, I guess. Alright, no big deal. No big deal. Just doing a little silly investigating. But yeah, let's go ahead then and drop back into the capital. What time is it? 10 o'clock? Hour and a half? Yeah, we'll do a pass of the capital to kind of make sure we've got all the items, make sure we've looked at all the nooks and crannies, and kind of, you know, discuss what the hell's going on in there. Cathedral of the Forsaken? Oh, I know what that is. Never mind. That's underground. Not this far underground, but underground. Ooh, you know who we haven't checked in on a while? Fia. Maybe we'll start from there. Hi, Fia. How's Godwin? Is he okay?
This is goodbye, my dear, but I am satisfied. I choose to lie with Godwin of my own will, not the remains of one chosen for me, and I will bear a child, who will inherit your warmth too. What greater blessing could there be but to be born a deathbed companion?
Crazy. Okay, so I guess we can't trigger what happens here next. No big deal. But just to recontextualize who she is again, she is Fia, the deathbed companion, who has decided to become the mechanism by which Godwin the Golden here, whose body has become crazy since his death. Notable, it's the first death of a demigod. But that she's going to use her abilities as a deathbed companion, which calls upon pieces of warmth, life essence from many different champions and people to concentrate them in a way that will conceive a new birth of the soul that was lost to death. In this case, it would be Godwin the Golden, who would presumably rise to become, Lord of the Dead, so to speak. But check it out. Never actually investigated this side of the death route, but he was given Erdtree burial after his death, real close to the base of the Erdtree, which, despite its depiction on the map, is actually around here. The trunk of the Erdtree, rather, and which is also notably offset from whatever the hell this stump is, which is not the Erdtree. But we have a route over here. I mean, I guess it's possible that the main root system of the Erdtree swings out a little bit as it descends, but I think that's less likely. I think this is the center of a previous tree. But anyway, this route here, we could even make out the visage of Godwin here, jammed into it. He was given Erdtree burial after he was killed, in the hopes that his remembrance would be hewn into the Erdtree. However, being soulless, that didn't really work out, and indeed his body seems to have corrupted the root in which he was meant to be absorbed, spawning the death root, which has emerged throughout the lands between, associated with those who live in death, and is a force that reveals the flaws in the Golden Order, and so the Golden Order often reacts to those who live in death as something to be scourged from the earth. But let's note that this little portal exists here, and we can take it to another location. We're looking at technology that seems to be either associated with the Eternal Cities and or the Eternal Empire before it, and or even the Sword and Great Tree Stratum, which we'll go into more detail about later. Suffice to say, that portal has led us straight to the eastern ramparts of Leyndell. Behold the Erdtree. Entering the capital through the eastern rampart, which is now the main entryway into town, seeing as how we have this entire collapsed section, which seems to be associated with the ruins down below here, half of which probably fell deeper into the deep root depths still. The main gate of Leyndell, out here, now leads to nowhere and is permanently shut. That is I believe that to have happened during the later stages of the Shattering, after, and perhaps even long after, the second defense of Leyndell, maintained by Margit, the Fell Omen. Can we get down there? Hmm. I mean, well, obviously you can. A player left a message, but is it a good idea? Okay, so this is the exit to the Forbidden Lands that became unlocked after we defeated Market. He put up a seal there, and he needed to be taken down before the seal would vanish. There's at least one other seal that has since vanished, and it's deep in the sewers under Lyondell. And perhaps we'll end the session there. Meanwhile, we'll tour Lyondell one more time. Let's meet up with Bach the Seamster. How you doing, Bach?
Bok the seamster, at your service, master.
Good to see.
Ready to make adjustments to your garments.
Okay, let's see if I have any garments worth adjusting. Oh shit, we can take off the hood for the Eccentric's hood? Sure. But first... it's the same description. The hood hides an aged, bearded mask. Jaren served General Radon as a guest commander, and they are said to have sworn an oath of honorable death to one another, which explains why he's there overlooking Radon, and is indeed the architect of the Festival of Combat that is specifically designed to find somebody who can finally kill Radon and give him an honorable death. That's cool, though. Alright. As a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and alter it. Hi, page close. Hi, page. Ooh. I never realized we could alter this. And it has a different description. Excellent. Original description. Set with red glintstone, said to be formed by the blood of sacrifices. Strengthens thorn sorcery. Alberic was aloof, yet disturbed heretical sorcerer, said to have been driven mad by jeering tongues during his service to the Round Table Hold. Long ago. Oh, he was made fun of at the Round Table Hold. And was driven mad. Alberic was an aloof, yet disturbed... Okay, yeah. It's not that big a description difference, but we'll see what it looks like. We'll see what it looks like. Alright, let's see. I don't see the clothing we're wearing now on the list of stuff we can alter. That's fine. Thanks, Bach.
Oh, going so soon?
I am sorry. Oh, man, I actually quite like this. I quite like this. Yeah. Real quick though, just for funsies. Don't fool with me, I'm a wizard. I will defeat you. Alright. Yes, I quite like this robe set, to be frank. It goes real nice with the Sanguine Noble Waistcloth. We'll roll like this. Oh, wrong way. See ya, Bach. Alright, so everywhere in Leyendell is evidence of its high point. The Golden Age of Plenty. These tapestries in particular depict the Erd Tree in its peak health, apparently, bearing the fruit of new birth to the lands between, and crowned by the bedchamber of Queen Marika. We see a similar motif on this relief. The images of people and the bedchamber, all prominently presented. Behold Leyendell. The capital, already ruined. So, Leyendell experienced 2 major defenses in the Shattering. And a dragon attack in, I believe, its more distant past. But the actual dating of the dragon attack might be hard to pin down exactly, because it seems as if most of the high Byzantine style construction we see here is actually predates the dragon attack. Like, they didn't build the neighborhood around the dragon crashed into it, and they kind of accommodated it afterward. We can also see that the city is not only partially destroyed, right, with the evidence of these walls that have been knocked over, etc. There are also ash piles. The one we're on isn't so conspicuous because, okay, maybe it's part of a crumbling edifice or something. But we can see just by looking around, there's ash down there. There's patches of ash in the pavement of the main avenue. There are piles of ash between buildings. It's as if the ash was coming and they continually cleared it out, stacking it between the narrow places between buildings, for lack of a better place to put it. And yeah, so yeah, you can see the ash drifts here and there. The tile work, the golden tile work also has ash covering it. And so forth. Also, I'm just realizing that on the rooftops of some of these buildings are the watchdogs from tombs. You just barely make them out. They also appear to be alive. Let me zoom in. Enhance. So yeah, we can see one just center of frame, not too far from my fingertip on this rooftop. And you can see him moving in his idle animation. There's also one just right here on this rooftop. And then there's one on the rooftop way over past the first one I pointed at. There's 2 of them on that one. I don't remember actually encountering them or being able to run across those rooftops. Interesting. I don't see any items to pick up. That is curious. So that indicates to me that that is territory we can actually traverse. And so, meaning my explorations of this area are going to be a little bit more exhaustive than I initially intended. Oh, indeed. Look. Dead giveaway. Item on the roofs. More gargoyles, or whatever you call them. Son of a beak. Son of a buck. This dome's texture isn't loading. Okay. Interesting. Well, how do we get there? Ah, I think I see. But I think I'm actually going to withhold this for a future